the first pick.
Alrighty, welcome to On the Clock, the Just Baseball, College Baseball, and MLB Draft Podcast. I'm Jared Perkins. We got Monty Taylor filling in for Tyler Jennings. We have head coach Matt Swope from the University of Maryland joining us as a guest today. Coach, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we're really excited to have you on. I've been out and saw Maryland play this fall against Virginia, so we're really excited to talk about the team. But the first question we always ask our guests, especially the new ones, just give us a little background on you, your journey, and kind of how you've gotten to where you are today.
Yeah, I kind of have a little bit of a different journey. I didn't get back into college baseball until I was almost 32. So kind of going through the gamut of playing professional baseball. Ended up getting 2 shoulder surgeries by Dr. Andrews out there in Alabama, kind of derailed my career a little bit. And it took me a little while to find my way back to baseball, but I'm kind of glad I did that coming back in the DMV where I'm from. I'm right by University of Maryland. It's an expensive place to live. So at that time, I kind of just jumped right into the real world, ended up working for eventually a Department of Defense contractor down in Roslyn, Virginia by the Pentagon. And I just realized at some point I was like, hey, I'm living for the Commanders, Redskins games on the weekends, and I'm just living for the weekends, and I'm going about this wrong. So just kind of decided to jump back into college baseball. A lot of thanks probably for Eric Bakich for that. When Eric came back to University of Maryland, his first head coaching job, did a really good job of trying to invigorate the program and bring people back. And people don't realize then, we had made a tournament in 43 years. So this place hadn't had a lot of success. So I give a lot of credit to him and, had some conversations with him when he was going back to Michigan. And lucky enough, he called Coach Szefc for me, and Coach Szefc kind of hired me sight unseen. And I give a lot of credit to him, allowing me to do the scheduling, the budgeting, a lot of things that people don't do at that time. And what a lot of new head coaches struggle with. So I was super lucky to have someone kind of just invest in me that way and kind of let me do my thing, and it expedited my process by a lot. But, for those that don't know, I grew up 10 minutes from University of Maryland. My parents went there. They got married at the chapel there on campus. Went to DeMatha Catholic High School, an all boys powerhouse in Maryland as well. So these are my roots. And I always tell people this is more like a lifestyle than a job.
Yeah, and I love watching kind of your journey too, and it's because you played at Maryland, like you said, from '99 to 2002. I think you said you've been with the coaching staff since 2013. It's been part of the most winningest season in program history. For you, just being able to be part of watching Maryland grow into like one of the bigger powerhouses in baseball and just college baseball overall. What's that been like for you, just being a player and having played there and just being able to kind of watch this program turn into the incredible program it is today?
Yeah, just love to see the growth. It was funny. We were doing the groundbreaking for the new indoor facility, and I had stood there and I told the team, I said, hey, you guys remember the shell that you had here, which was kind of modular, and we had 2 bullet heaters and it wasn't no HVAC, right? And that was covered. I said, but hey, you guys don't realize when I played here on the same exact spot, we had 2 outdoor cages. So, a lot of that is like them also realizing how far we've come is like, hey, we didn't even have something covered back then. You know what I mean? And that was just 20 years ago. So to have them understand the history of how far we've come, I think when I was here, we had 4.5 scholarships as a program competing in a 9-team ACC that was a juggernaut, always had really good offenses, but just didn't quite have the pitching. So have them understand how far we've really come. And I tell this story all the time. I was in 22 when we hosted that regional, and I walked out to third base and was coaching third. I was actually in tears, wow. just trying to take the moment in and seeing like, wow, we are hosting a regional in College Park, and people are over there in the corner, partying, and people are on the net, and everybody's fired up, and the line was crazy. I mean, that was something for me that was extra special. So it's been great to just see in totality how much we've grown. And, now that I think at first you're trying to just get talent in 2012, 2013, and now the standard is to win and people expect you to win. That's a good thing. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, I love that. For you, kind of you had your first season last year as head coach, right? Coming into 2025, what are some of the expectations for the team?
Yeah, I tell them like we're at the point now where we expect to win every game. It's as simple as that. We don't talk about any lofty, hey, win a Big Ten championship, win a regional, get to Omaha. The expectation is to win every game. I think everybody knows we've been one game away from Omaha a few times. So, now we're just trying to break down those doors and actually get to Omaha. We've been very, very close. We've had a ton of success. We've won Big Ten championships. We've had a ton of guys drafted. We've had first rounders. We've done a lot of great things. So I think it's nice to get to the point where you don't have to beg and plead for expectation. You just, the standard is in the room that you're trying to win every single game. And the guys have kind of embraced that. And I think now we're at the point with the program where people come here and expect to win. So excited to see kind of what happens this season.
Yeah, I love that. Last question I have before I'll turn over to Monty is you got a lot of newcomers in the lineup this year, and you have always the strength of Maryland has always usually been the hitting. Talk a little bit about guys like Hollis, Porter, and Aden Hill. I saw them this fall, really impressive, but what are they going to kind of bring to the table for you all?
Yeah, I think just toughness. I think, last year we had a team that was, we had 7 players drafted off that juggernaut team. We knew we were, me getting the job a little bit later was almost like tough for the portal. And we're always going to develop within, but I think we had the most freshman starts in the Big Ten last year. So you knew we were going to be young. We were going to play a lot of young guys. So that was all good. And then we got a lot of guys back. So I just think the pieces we've added, it's just the guys have been through it a little bit. A VCU guy, a Wake Forest guy, a Mississippi State kickback, but also went through kind of the JUCO bandit kind of grind, right? We just got a little tougher. And we're deeper on that side of the ball. So it's great to have Eddie and Chris back as well. Eddie is a huge piece I thought should have got drafted. So we have a nice little core nucleus, which I think you kind of saw at UVA. And I think just overall the depth, and we just got tougher on both sides, not just the hitting side, but also the pitching side as well.
I love it.
Jared seems to forget that I was sitting next to him at the UVA Maryland scrimmage because he keeps saying I. But another guy that I was really impressed with in that scrimmage and that I saw a little bit of at Wake Forest was Liam Wilson. Mm-hmm. And is he kind of an under the radar guy that can be a big contributor with his power ability?
Yeah, super highly touted out of high school, was also a running back. So if you see him, a lot of our guys with their shirts off, they look like Adonis. Super physical, athletic kid. And played at Wake. I think he started in 2 or 3 weekends. He was bit a little bit by the injury bug. I know he hurt his hamstring in the fall there, and then hurt his hamstring, I guess, in the spring as well. So anybody that can get in the mix at Wake as a freshman, I think it kind of shows their talent level, right? And I just think it kind of worked out the way it did for having some connections with Pudge, his high school coach down here in the DMV, and who's had a perennial juggernaut there for a high school at Madison as well. Just adding that depth and toughness, like you said. He can play third, he can play outfield. He's a switch hitter, super dangerous, explosive. So he's one of those 3 that we're kind of looking to just move around. And I think this first month will be how do guys fit in roles, where are they at in the lineup, kind of like most college baseball teams. But super excited to have him here, and have these guys be from the DMV kind of come back.
Yeah, you mentioned, just to switch tactics back a little bit to talk about your coaching journey, Coach John Szefc is a unique personality, and as a member of the media, we get one kind of view of him. But what's it like working for him, and what's he like, as a coach, and what does he do really, really well?
Yeah, I would actually say that he's probably not what he looks like or comes off as.
That's I figured.
Yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed working for him. He was not a micromanager. He was great. He was funny. So it's on TV, I think he looks a little intimidating and tough. And when you see him probably barking at the umpires a little bit, which he likes to do. But off the field and just as a coach, just was fantastic. Good communicator, just laid back. So I think the perception is certain things about him because he looks kind of tough and scary. But he's really, I won't say a softie, but I think I actually err more towards a little bit of a player's coach. So I owe everything to him. He hired me. Nobody would have done that without knowing. He let me take the reins on so many different things, and just to show that humility and that ability to support me at that time I'm forever indebted to him. So he can do no wrong in my eyes.
Love that. Shifting gears to another team in the Commonwealth of Virginia, you guys have a really fun midweek matchup set up in Fredericksburg at that beautiful ballpark there for the Fredericksburg Gnats with UVA. How excited are you for that, to kind of renew that rivalry? I know, you were the coach there when you guys went to back-to-back super regionals against the Who's. So there's obviously, some rivalry there just from that standpoint, but how excited are you for that to get an opportunity to play Virginia in a midweek?
Yeah, it's something we've been working on for a long time. Even going back all the way to COVID, we had a game set up at Nats Park. So it originated there where we were trying to get, if you look across college baseball, there's plenty of teams playing at Fenway. They're playing at different parks, right? It just doesn't make sense to me why, with the history of some UVA players playing for the Nats and our guys as well, why we don't have a game either with Nats or Camden Yards or something like this. So scheduling is always tough, right? Because we're scheduling way more in advance than the major league teams are, or the minor league teams. So that makes it a little bit challenging. So we were able to fit this in, and this is something we're going to do every year. I think it's perfect for kind of meeting right in the middle. We do have a rivalry going all the way back to that, but I have a lot of respect for their staff. They do it right. They've had a lot of success over the course of the years, and it's no secret we're trying to mirror that kind of, from a facility standpoint, from a growth standpoint, we're trying to get to there. So I think it's going to be great for the community. The more we can get to kind of buy in for that midweek, you never know what it could turn out to somewhere else as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. I mean, I'm in Richmond, so Fredericksburg's a little bit even closer than Charlottesville is. So I'm excited for that one. And, I was telling Jared I wasn't going to many midweeks, but then the schedules keep popping out. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to a lot of midweeks. But that's all I got, Jared.
Yeah, no, Coach, you touched a little bit on the rotation and how strong that might be this year. You had a healthy Kyle McCoy back. Joey McManus has really taken some strides on the mound. You also brought in some really intriguing freshmen in like Jake Eager and Christopher Cespedes. Talk a little bit more about that rotation and what some of the expectations are.
Yeah, I think for someone like Kyle, we'll see how it goes, right? I think it's going to have some ups and downs probably the first month or so back. I mean, you haven't pitched in, and it seems like almost 2 years, you're going to have a little bit of that. But I tell people it's almost like getting a blue chip guy in the portal. That's really what it feels like, just someone that wasn't pitched last year, and then you get him back at the front. And so he's been part of our leadership council this year. I think anybody who's 6'6", left-handed, that's up to 94, 95 is going to be a boost. And then if you look, we got a lot of guys back. We got Coaster back, who's going through it a little bit, got 3 bone chips removed, but he'll be fine for the season. And Omar Belendez, who's back, and obviously the 2 guys I'm most excited about are Joey McManus and Evan Smith. Both guys that ended up pitching on the weekend were thrust in there way too early. Probably in other years they wouldn't have been, but Joe's been electric this preseason. Evan has really gotten in shape and really had a good summer. So I'm just excited about the depth we have. Andrew Johnson's back. He's ticked up in the velocity. Didn't pitch in the fall. Ryan Van Buren has started a Big Ten championship game, is back, has added a cutter. So I just like the depth we have. And you mentioned Yeager and Cespedes. Cespedes' sliders is unbelievable, been up to 95. And Yeager as well, just that highly touted guys that we're actually getting here. Probably bring those 2 a little bit along slower, just because we can. Maybe a little bit of a few midweek starts and stuff like that. But we definitely have options on both sides, just from a depth perspective, which is nice to have. Even the years that we were hosting and really, really good winning championships, we were definitely more thin from a depth perspective when it comes to the mound. So it's nice to be able to have options, because even those years we didn't run a regional, it can show up towards the end of the year when that velo drops or too many appearances or whatever. So having that depth will help hopefully get to the end of the year where we could be a tick more fresh.
I love it. You mentioned the leadership council, and I think one thing when I watch Maryland that I've always been impressed with is like the leaders that you have on the field. You've had guys like Chris Aileen, Matt Shaw, Kevin Kieser, and then this year like Eddie Hakopian have really kind of stepped up and just been leaders of this team. Talk about how important it is to have those guys in the locker room to really help develop that team chemistry.
Yeah, we spent more time on it this fall. We added 4 guys. I just felt like if you're really truly going to be player led, you have to spend more time investing in them, and help them understand. It's probably not about their strengths. It's more about like, what are things they need to work on and bring to the table for the rest of the team. So we did a leadership council. We'll still have the number 3 where Eddie will wear, but we've done a better job of making it more player-led and teaching more leadership and going through things. So in the past, we've had teams that have had good leaders, and you kind of just are like, oh, why are you good? And then you look back and say, oh, well, because they're phenomenal people and they're relentless competitors and all that. But sometimes, like last year, when you have a lot of young guys and only a few older guys, it's hard to put all that stress on one person. So I had to take a step back and look at myself and say, hey, where can I improve? Where can we improve as a team? And if we're actually going to use this cliche word of culture and all this stuff, you actually have to take time and teach it, invest in it, and stuff like that. So I thought we did a better job of that. And it's a lot of kudos to those guys invest in the time as well.
Yeah, I love that. And kind of staying with that development theme, you talked a little bit about the new Stanley Baseball Performance Center, but talk about that a little bit more in depth and kind of what that's going to really mean for your program and just not developing the players off the field, but on the field.
Yeah. So, I mean, most people that know how we develop, we do things different. We base things off kind of motor preferences, something I found 4 or 5 years ago in Europe, and we just published a book on it. So I think people know that what they're getting from a development aspect here. So it just allows us to have the resource to the development, right? Where it's like, hey, you can talk about having all these things, and then you come there and you're in the shell, or maybe you don't have the resources to execute that. So that's where the magic happens. That's where most of the work is done from a development standpoint for anyone. So if you can really believe that you're going to help anyone or put that up against any coach in the country, it really helps when you have that development resource to show them, hey, this is how we're going to use this or this tech or this, and this is how it applies to you. It's not the same to someone else. So we've always prided ourselves on coaching every single player differently, on and off the field. They're all individuals, and we take a lot of time with that individualistic approach. And I think it's done really well for us so far in the development phase.
No, I love that, because every single player is going to be different, right, in the way they learn and those kind of things. Last question I have before we'll kind of dive into some more fun ones. I've been asking every coach this because I think with the new transfer portal rules, it's become difficult, and you have guys coming in and out. And I think one thing that's always impressed me about Maryland's team is that regardless of guys coming in and out, like that team chemistry has always been strong. So what for you goes into really developing that team chemistry from the start of the season to the end of the season?
Well, it's always got to start with two things, I think: character and competitiveness. I mean, those things. So if we're talking to somebody as a high school recruit, or a portal guy, you have to play hard here. You have to, what you're going to get here when teams come and play us. You're going to get relentless 27 outs. That's how we've always been. More of that grinder, mentality. Just play hard and never give up. So I think you're trying to establish that always early on in your conversations and see if it's a fit. And that's how we've been able to do that. And I think also just getting people that want to be here. And it's so hard in this landscape right now. And I know it's really tough for young kids right now trying to decipher through all that with money and NIL and stuff like that. But I just try to build genuine relationships. And if you build genuine relationships and tell the truth to the player all the time, I think things are going to end up working out. Not always perfectly, but that's what Rob did a really good job of. He's a master communicator, Rob Vaughn, and we've continued to do that here. So I think we're getting mostly the right kids, and it's always going to start there.
I love it. Monty, do you have any other questions before we dive into some more fun ones?
I was just do you have another under the radar player that we didn't get a chance to talk about that people should know, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of where the younger guys are at. We had guys like Jordan Crossland who was injured a little bit and then got injured in the fall, who's super, super athletic. Guys like that, guys like Mike Iannazzo. We still have some young guys that got some at bats that had either really, really strong summers that could really pop up and be X factors for this team. So excited to just kind of see some of those younger guys, how they progress. And it's not all about the older guys. And a lot of times you guys have seen how those sophomores take that huge jump and we're kind of nobody even knew about them as freshmen. So those are a couple guys that I think that could pop up, that be regulars, and excited to see how they grow in year two.
Awesome.
Oh, love it. So we're going to dive into just a couple of fun questions just to wrap things up. First one I always ask is, so you're at the baseball field all the time. What are some of the things you do for fun to kind of unwind and relax when you're not at the field? I've seen some of your Commanders tweets, so I think I have some idea, but I'd love to hear more.
I don't know if that helps you wind down.
No.
The last 33 years of my life, see, I was alive for the first 3 Super Bowls. So for the last 33 years, that was a way to get my blood pressure more up than wind down. So, but 5, I call him now, Jaden Daniels. I don't even call him his name anymore. I just say 5. Has really changed the perception in the community here. But no, off the field, I have 3 kids, and one of my kids is running around right now. Everybody's been sick at the house. So I really enjoy music and movies. So, I grew up on hip hop and more grunge and, the turntable era back in the early 90s. So Tribe Called Quest is my favorite group. So a lot of music and movies growing up and still in my downtime right now.
I love it. What's your favorite memory from your playing days at Maryland?
Well, so probably playing days, I hit a walk-off home run on senior night off Chris Ray, who was the closer for the Orioles for a while. So at William & Mary. So that's probably one of my favorite memories of my last home game, to have all your family there and friends and people that supported you over the years to hit a walk-off home run to beat them was pretty special. But had a great career at Maryland and a lot of great memories, but that's definitely probably up there for me.
I love it. And the last question I asked, this one might put you on the spot a little bit, but if you could coach any team past or present, who would it be and why? Any
team past or present? Well, I'm a big Oriole fan. Can it be pro teams? Yeah, probably those teams like from 95 to 98 with the Orioles, because that was my high school year. So you had Calrick and Harold Baines, Eddie Murray, a lot of just Rafael Palmeiro, guys like that were just shaped my childhood. So, and I was actually at a couple of the playoff games where my heart got broken with Mike Mussina pitching and stuff like that. So I think about teams like that. I also love Ricky Henderson. So maybe the Bash brother teams with Ricky Henderson and a couple of those guys too back in the early 90s. So I know I'm dating myself a little bit, but unfortunately that's where my kind of brain takes me, because those were my idols then. So it'd be the coolest thing ever to be like, oh, now I could be their manager. What could I do? So.
No, I love that answer. We had Coach Gabe Gross on last week, and he gave like the first response that was like a non-team that he coached. So this is the second response that we've had. That's not. He said like the Chicago Bulls. He like went different sport. So
that's
I was worried when Jared said past or present. You just go, but the team I'm managing right now is the one I would. I was like, okay.
Nah, that's too easy.
Yeah.
Coach, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us and On the Clock. I know I'll be at the field at a bunch of the Maryland games this year and can't wait to watch you guys play. So we're wishing you nothing but the best, and we'll be watching.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks, Coach.